Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. Let's go ahead and get started. We are streaming. All is good. I hope you've had a fantastic first day of this winter 2025 semester. It's my third lecture of the day, 6th hour lecturing. So I apologize if my voice is a little bit cranky or if maybe I'm a little bit casual at the moment, but it's just that time of day. I've got something that I'd like to show you. A particular image that is, I think, very visceral in the horror that it inspires in some and the excitement that it inspires in others. Can you tell me what this is? Right here. Yes?
Is that itch?
This is itch.io. But what about itch.io is it? What is this collection of itch.io games? Any idea? This is the collection of itch.io games that released on February 18th, 2021, before we even hit 3 p.m. Okay? And how do I know this? Why do I have this? Well, my game, if you squint, is buried right here. Okay? The debut of the Greek tragedy demo. Buried under a gigantic avalanche of games, okay? Hundreds of games coming out every single day. If you would have shown this to 10-year-old Austin, okay? If you would have shown this to anyone even a decade ago, they would not have believed what they were seeing. Hundreds of free games every single day? Are you kidding me? Okay? Gaming is in a bit of a tumultuous period right now, you may have noticed. If you're close to the industry, okay, if you're close to AAA, you enjoy the biggest releases, things have been a little bit wild recently. But in many ways, this really is one of the golden ages of gaming. And if you are a user, if you are a customer, if you're someone who wants to, on the cheap, go online and find a fun, interesting experience, you can do it. You can do it in 1,000 ways. You got Itch and Game Jolt. How many of you use that? Okay. What about Steam? All right, that's kind of a prerequisite, right? If you want to play on a PC. What about any love for the Epic Game Store? Okay. Do you have any love for it beyond the free game they sometimes give you? No? Oh, so sad. Okay. How many of you play Fortnite? None? Oh, okay. Don't admit it, but all right, a lot of you do. What about Good Old Games? Okay, a very cool kind of niche site to get games. What about Humble Bundle? This is where I get all the $4.94 showcase games, actually, the Humble Bundle subscription. If you want to play a game on the cheap right now, it is 2024 and you can do that. You can find games of every variety, of every quality level, and you can do it pretty quickly. Okay, you can find games that are big and small. You can find really weird games, okay? Papers, Please, right? A game about being a border agent, okay? Doesn't sound very good on paper, but it's in fact a fantastic time. Games like Dream Daddy, the kind of games that probably would struggle to get funding or shelf space, right, from a big retailer. What about games like A Short Hike? You show this to the EA executive. You show this to Andrew Wilson. He's gonna, where's the combat? Where's the MMO style loot boxes and microtransactions? Okay, a game like this. Are you kidding me? Papers, Please was made in OpenFL, Dream Daddy, and A Short Hike made in Unity. We're going to talk about them in a bit. Okay. Question for you. Would any of these interesting games have had a chance a couple decades ago? The answer is probably no, okay? And I think that's really sad, all right? Gaming has come a long way. When you look at what gaming used to be, in many ways, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed growing up when I did. But in many other ways, gaming was not exactly accessible, especially if you wanted to be the one telling interesting stories, okay? Game dev wasn't always accessible, and despite the luxury we have of all these cool games, all these interesting stories, today, the future might be different, okay? It's not necessarily going to keep going the way it is, all right? About a year ago, Unity made a bit of a splash, and not in a great way. They introduced a license fee per install, okay? We're going to talk about this a bit more in a bit, but basically they decided if you've used Unity to make your game, every time someone installs that game, you're going to have to pay us, okay? Regardless of if you've made any money or not, okay? And there was a gigantic revolt. It was a calamity. A bunch of people kind of flew away to Godot. It was a scary situation for a lot of people. So it is story time. The 1980s were a very interesting time for games. I mean, this is when it really started to get a bit of momentum. Okay, a promising time for this new interactive media. You had consoles like Nintendo's NES in 1986. You had computers like the Commodore 64, 1982. Anyone have any experience with the C64? No? I got to start working on that historical computing class. I want to have a class where we make NES games. Be so cool. Oh my gosh. Right? You've got really cool games like Super Mario Brothers, right? Legend of Zelda, Metroid, okay? You've got games on C64 like Bubble Bobble, okay? A lot of very interesting stuff on computer at that time. I've got a question for you. If you wanted to make games and you were lucky enough to be, at the age to be making games in the 80s, how would you make your game in the 1980s? You've got an interesting story to tell. What do you need? What do you require to do so? In the back?
You need the kit from the developers.
That's right. That's right. You need a kit. You need permission from the developers, the platform holders, and I will tell you that does not come cheap. Just you wait, okay? What else do you need?
Something to actually create the game.
Okay, computers, hardware. Okay, yes? Assembly language. How many of you feel really comfy in, what is it called, LC2K? The 370 language. Okay? If you wanted to make games in the 1980s, you needed to have the platform holders' approval. One of Nintendo's big things was that they were very strict. They took a ton of your money, and they were hard to work for in the first place, okay? Sega's big win with developers was that they were way easier, way cheaper to work with, much more flexible. That's just a historical note, though. You had to have a strong knowledge of assembly, and you had to be very comfortable working with the unique hardware of the time. Okay, it was not like programming today. And that was a rare thing to know. Okay, there weren't exactly a ton of game development courses at the universities in the 80s. Okay, by the way, there were really no libraries available at all, and no one ever reused anything. So every time you want to make a new game, you are starting from scratch. The first time you make a game, you're starting from scratch. Good luck with that. You think a lot of people were making games in the 80s? No, and this is why, okay? It was a great time in many ways, okay? We had these phenomenal classic games that they're still easy to appreciate today. But don't forget about all those stories we didn't get, okay? Because, well, it wasn't a very accessible place to be, okay? Because of all those issues. Okay, we're going to go 10 years in the future and so we're going to see if things get a little bit better, okay? Hopefully they get a bit better. This is the 90s. I was born in 92 and things are really heating up. The PlayStation released in 94, okay? Windows 95 came out, I believe in 95. And we had games that were entering the third dimension. We had Crash Bandicoot, okay? We had a new player in the industry. Sony, they came in so hard that they knocked out Sega and almost took down Nintendo. And we had really interesting genres popping up, right? We had RPGs, we had real-time strategy games, a lot of interesting stuff on PC as well. And that same question reoccurs. If you want to make a game in the 90s now, what do you need to do it? Yeah.
Either a dev kit for something for PlayStation or something for 2025.
You need a dev kit. If you want to make games for the Sony PlayStation, you need a special version of the PlayStation that is this hideous box, okay? This is often what they look like. They're gigantic. It's the console, but with a lot of extra hardware for debugging, usually some extra power to help you debug while you run the game, test performance, stuff like that, okay? Connecting to a computer in a way that the normal console can't really do. How much do you think this cost? In the back.
From what I know, they're around double the cost of the actual console.
Double? So if you say the PlayStation was a pretty affordable console, let's say like $300, $400 is affordable. Compared to what I'm about to tell you, it's affordable. You say it's about $600 to maybe $800. Oh no. You also need to know C around this time. C++, way better than assembly by a billion times. But still not exactly the most accessible language, is it? Okay? How much money did you need? All right. How much did that cost? A cool 35 grand. Okay? How about that? And if you want to know how I know this, Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin created Naughty Dog, who created Crash Bandicoot, the first game I ever played. Jason Rubin is the U of M alum, and Andy Gavin is the one we get all the good information from. So, a little bit unfortunate, but Andy Gavin has a postmortem on Crash Bandicoot. They took a gigantic financial risk. I think one of them might have remortgaged their house to get 35 grand together to pay for that dev kit. Sony had never made a console. PlayStation could have flopped. That was a humongous risk, but it did pay off, as those kind of risks sometimes do, okay? The 1990s was another time when if you had a great story to tell, there's a good chance you couldn't, okay? And it was really, really, it was a great time in 1,000 ways, and it was a bad time in 1,000 more, okay? Around this time, a kid named Tim Sweeney decided to release a game. And this game was kind of, it was well architected. It had a lot of really cool technology. This game was called Unreal. And it was a first-person shooter game. And he started to wonder if he might be able to release another game that used most of Unreal's engine and technology. And, it was made for Unreal. So what if we just called it the Unreal Engine, okay? What if we did that? Around a similar time, there was a guy named Mark Overmars. If you look him up on LinkedIn these days, he's a wonderful nature photographer, okay? Super cool. I believe he was actually a professor for quite a while. I think he might still be in Europe. And he created a program called Animo, okay? It was kind of like, animation. It allowed you to build some interactive, cool visuals and stuff. Animo, the name didn't stick around very long. He very quickly... here's what it looked like, okay? And if you go way back, this might look familiar already, okay? That's Animo. He watched people use it, and he decided that maybe this is not the right name. He decided to change it to Game Maker instead, okay? So 1999, the 90s were crazy. Let's skip forward to the 2010s. Game dev is becoming a big business, okay? Things are going exponential. The biggest companies are getting involved. companies that made just a few titles, right, big titles, Blizzard, go public, okay? They now have more resources than they know what to do with, but they also have expectations to continue that growth if they can. You've got games like Call of Duty coming out. You've got games like NCAA and Madden and all that good stuff. You know, I'm a big fan of this one in particular. Yeah, I remember voting for Denard. They had an online vote, okay? And there's this huge controversy. All the Michigan fans were claiming the Ohio State people were botting us to try and drive it down. Anyway, it was big when I was an undergrad. Game dev is becoming a huge business, okay? And Unreal Engine has made a very bold move. They've decided to let other people use their technology, okay? And they're going to sell it, okay? Unreal Engine is available to you for $500,000, okay? $500,000, and they will return your phone call. Apparently, Nathan Hanish of Stardock, he's one of the lead engineers of Stardock, he tells me that Epic won't even respond to your email, okay, unless you're big enough, you have enough heft to add that into your game's budget, okay? So it's available now, okay? We're reusing technology, but it's not easy to get, okay? You need a publisher at least. Tools like GameMaker are becoming better known, and I recall using the earlier versions when I was like in middle school, which was in that like early 2000s period. And it was surprisingly solid, but it was small and it still had problems. It had performance issues, and don't you dare ask it to do anything 3D, okay? Still very limited. Unity in 2005 is being developed as a Macintosh game engine. And the technology is really cool. It's very impressive, but what's more impressive is the business model. The idea that Unity has is we're going to let you use the engine for free, but then if you start to make money, then we're going to take a cut. We're going to tax that, okay? And this model blew the doors right open, okay? Unity, of course, if you've taken 494, this is very familiar to you, or 440, it's very familiar to you. But Unity really broke the entire industry down, okay? It was free version, and there was a small fee you could pay to get rid of the splash screen, and you could get some extra features that didn't really matter very much with a small fee. It was industrial grade. It could do 2D. It could do 3D. It wasn't the world's most performant engine, but it could do some things, right? You could do some stuff with it. It was solid in 3D, but it was also great at targeting different platforms. Perhaps this comes from their initial target of the Mac. Okay, we build the technology to target Mac. Oops, that was probably not the best idea. No one plays games on Mac. Let's go to Windows. Oh, wait, now we've got this great culture and technology base that allows us to target many different platforms, and there you go, right? It was fairly easy to use. It allowed you to use a scripting, an embedded hosted language, C# or JavaScript, or kind of a Python variant called Boo. No one remembers that. Anyone remember Boo? Yeah? All right. Good stuff. And it was very easy to share assets. So you could package things into what's called a Unity package, kind of a private format. And you could upload those packages and send them to other people. There was a store there you could get more packages. It was really nice, okay? And what happened here is that Unreal saw this and went, Unity is getting real popular. We need to also change if we want to keep our market share. And this forced engines like Unreal to change their licensing model and go to something similar, that rev share style of model. Okay, Unreal became royalty-based, Unity became royalty-based, and the idea here is that we don't make money until you're making money, which is an incredible business model for adoption. Okay, there's just nothing at risk for the indie dev. Okay? Doesn't matter who you are. There's no expensive buy-in. Once you are successful enough to be able to afford us, that's when you'll pay us. Okay? Really good stuff. All right? And this led to a massive explosion in access and thus a massive explosion in new ideas, new stories from people you probably wouldn't expect to be making games earlier. Okay? And now we've got all of this interesting stuff happening, and it's all good. Okay? This also... It occurred that not just gamers and game devs were making games. They were using these engines for other things, for visualizations, right? For medical apps. That one on the bottom is a pediatric medical care app called Spellbound. And things like working out, things like architecture, things like film, okay? Absolutely amazing. And in 2023, right, the door was really, really, really open, okay? In the past, we had these expensive buy-ins that put you in a ton of risk, okay? We had these really difficult technical ecosystems where you couldn't even start to think about making a game unless you have a 4-year college degree and you have spent a ton of time in C and in assembly. And we had this nasty monopolized distribution system where, hey, Amazon wasn't that big of a thing, okay, that long ago. If you wanted to sell games in the early 2000s and you failed to convince GameStop, you were toast, okay? What are you going to do? A lot of people, and this sounds tough, sometimes it worked, a lot of teams would make a game, burn them by hand to floppy disk drives or CDs, and then do what I do at OhioCon, running around different stores and people trying to show them, okay? And that sometimes worked, but most of the time it didn't, okay? If you couldn't get into GameStop, you couldn't sell anything. They held all the cards, and you better believe they took most of your money, okay, when you made a sale. It stunk. It was awful. These days, if you have a cheap Chromebook, you can start making some lightweight stuff. You can get going, okay? You get a $400, $500 laptop, and now we can rock and roll. If you have access to a lab like this, you're golden, okay? Difficult technical ecosystems. Now there are thousands of tutorials on YouTube for every little thing you'd want to make. You've got engines that have very nice, friendly programming languages, C#. Maybe not all of you agree with that characterization of C#. If you want to avoid a programming language, you do what all my artist and music friends do. You go use Unreal, because blueprints aren't programming, right? All my EECS 440 students know that's garbage, okay? That's so untrue. It is programming. It's just a different form of it. It's just really, really nice, okay? You can go and do it. You don't need that much startup knowledge or startup money to do it. And the distribution situation has been pretty much annihilated, okay? You seen GameStop lately? Have you been in a GameStop? Okay. All they're selling are plushies, all right? It's very sad. If they can make that work, all the better for them. But you can get games from itch. You can get games from retail. You can get games from GOG. You can get games from Epic. You can get games from Steam. Steam is all powerful right now. It kind of looks a little bit monopolistic, but I don't know. There are a lot of options. Okay, that's the important part. Okay, the situation is so different. This is a massive improvement from, I think, most perspectives, especially consumer perspectives, and I think for many developers too. Okay, but this improvement, okay, is not guaranteed. It is not locked in, okay? The decades that come could be very, very different, okay? And we've gotten a little taste of that when Unity did their thing. Okay, one of you tell me, again, what did Unity try and do in 2023?
They warned their developers, hey, when 2024 starts, every install you make, we're going to charge a small fee for it.
Yep. 2023, the year of the squeeze, okay? Unity is a company that is very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. They got a great engine, great business model for the devs, but they struggled to make the business model work for themselves. For whatever reason, it works for Epic and a lot of other companies, but Unity, it feels like they kind of bungled some stuff. This is what Unity's situation was, okay? Their stock price through the floor. They're big, they're bloated, they need to bring in more cash. They can't do it, okay? They're struggling. So what do? They're a public company now, all right? They are a public company now, and they've IPO'd. They're worth billions of dollars. They need to make a big return. So what are we going to do? We're going to squeeze, okay? We got all these people using our engine. We're just going to introduce a tiny little fee, okay? Tiny little fee, what's the big deal, right? Whoa. How does a game like a Short Hike? Imagine Short Hike is free. I don't know. I don't remember if it is. Oh, it's $15. Okay. What's a really good free game? Name me a really good free game. Yes. Doki Doki Literature Club. Okay? What happens to that dev team if they release Doki Doki Literature Club? It's really successful. It's a great new idea, fun horror game. And they get 1 million, maybe 2 million, or maybe 5 million installs in the first week. Are they celebrating? No. No, they're filing bankruptcy, okay? Because they now owe Unity a ton of dough, but they haven't made a dime, okay?
A fun example was Cult of the Lamb. On December 31st, they were going to delist because they realized if it was still listed, all of their downloads would be back paid immediately on January 1st when the new deal was when the new install fee would have ended.
Uh-oh. Yes, right? So the important part here is that an antagonistic relationship suddenly developed out of nowhere with the people providing these engines, okay? This beautiful art form, this industry that we love, suddenly was being strangled by one of the companies capable of doing so, okay? The engines are simply that important, okay? Look at this market share right here. Do you see this blue bar? I'm pretty sure, yep, this is Unity, okay? These are the games released on Steam in the year, okay? 2021 is when the data ends. Unity, blue bar, okay? Unreal, yellow. Godot, that tiny little red that you can barely see, okay? Godot is an interesting engine. It's the open source engine that's kind of similar to Unity, and so that's the one that is not capable of squeezing you, provided you've done the clone and you've got the code, it's yours. So open source engine, unfortunately, is bottlenecked by available talent. If you are a strong engine developer, there are companies like Unreal and Unity that will scoop you up, okay? And there just aren't that many people who know how to work on engines. There aren't that many people who really do it often. And there aren't many courses producing more engine talent. This is a bit of an issue, okay? This is a huge issue, actually, okay? Because until game engine architecture is a public knowledge that a lot of people know, game dev is never really going to be free, okay? Always going to be beholden and at risk of our engine holders pulling the rug out, like Unity just tried to do, okay? Is Unreal Engine only going to be available until Tim Sweeney kicks the bucket? What happens after that? It's a scary thing to think about. But this is where you come in, okay? Because we can change the equation, all right? We're going to learn this semester how to build our own engine from scratch, okay? In some ways, it will be very advanced. In some ways, a bit less advanced. But you're going to have a lot of this knowledge, and you're going to have the confidence to get in there and learn more, okay? And you are going to be that line of defense, all right? You're going to be the ones to truly free game engines moving into the future. Because if this knowledge is free and out there and people know how to make an engine, Unity can't do the squeeze, okay? So long as Godot or other open source engines exist, Unity has to stay honest. Unity is amazing, but we got to keep them that way, okay? Same with Epic, all right? And that's what we're going to do. That's the high-level mission of this course. It's why it existed. It's why I created it, okay? Last year, it's because we got to protect this stuff, okay? This is too cool. I love playing these tiny, funny games too much, all right? So we're going to build our own engines. We're going to do it well, okay? So this is EECS 498007. This is Game Engine Architecture. Who am I, okay? If you don't know, who are we? Jacob, let's go ahead and start with you.
Hey everybody, I'm Jacob Robinson. I'm going to be one of your IAs for the semester. You can see 3 of my favorite games up there. I got Xenoblade Chronicles, Persona 5, and Shadow of the Colossus. Those are the 3 of my favorite games. If you ever want to talk to me about any of them, please do. Currently, I am interning with a brand new game startup in the UP Game Studios. Working on a game with them. I was heavily involved with the Wolverine Soft Studio for a while. I was the design lead. I was a project lead on a few projects. And I was a programmer. So if you run the studio, if you want to talk about any of those other aspects of game development, I'm also able to talk. that was supposed to be a video of my custom game engine, Wolverine engine, but it did not work. So
Show it in discussion.
It's on the discussion slide. So if you show up to when you show up to discussion, you'll see that video. And yeah, I took 498 last semester in the winter, so I kind of know what you guys are about to be up to, and have fun. It's a great class.
You definitely do want to go to discussion. We'll talk about it. This is not an easy course, okay? But you will be handsomely rewarded for your efforts, okay? All right. Next up, Junwin, you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jun Wen. I'm a senior student at EECS, and I took 498 last year, same as Robinson. And here are my favorite games. They are Dark Souls 3, Genshin Impact, and Death Stranding. And also about my programming languages, I use Vulkan and CUDA mainly for GPU programming. And I also use Unreal and Unity. During this summer, I was an internship at Tencent, who developed the graphics module based on Unreal Engine.
Heck yeah. Very, very good. Very good stuff. You'll come to discover that I am not a graphics engineer. You'll come to discover that I'm not an engine engineer. I'm really most naturally a gameplay engineer, right? Interested in logics and game mechanics. However, we have worked hard to get you a lot of this knowledge in the course. This is all to say that in some ways, right, my IAs are the experts. They are wonderful, wonderful staff members.
Don't say that. That's so scary.
Ain't it? Right? Yeah. You know what? The first time I made my own engine ever was when I was designing this course. Okay? And it worked out really well, actually. I like this engine a lot. I think I'll show you it running in just a few moments. Who am I? My name's Austin Yarger. I'm a lecturer here at the University of Michigan Computer Science Department. I teach most of the game development courses, the EECS 494 course, the EECS 440 course, the XR course. And I'm currently working on a new course, surprise, that is dedicated to 3D art animation modeling and making sure that's all interactive. So not only can we create a character, its geometry, its materials, its rig, right, skeleton, its animations, but when you get it into an engine, how do you make that character look around, right? How do you make them blink, right? How do you make them really work with the world and feel alive? Anyway, I worked on the Sims franchise and EA Mobile for a bit. I was at Facebook for a bit. I run the Ann Arbor chapter of the IGDA, the International Game Developers Association. And I have a startup. It used to do educational games for the government. A surprising customer, a surprisingly lucrative customer as well. And now we make indie horror games. It's quite the change. I got bored of making government games, basically, and I didn't need the money too badly, thankfully. Okay, so a couple other things. Wolverine Soft. You got a lot of great organizations on campus. Would anyone from Wolverine Soft like to talk about it?
All right.
Yeah, just project. I don't have a speaker for you.
So, hi, my name is Jose. I am the community manager for Wolverine Soft. Oh, this is heavily out of date. The main thing I can say about the club is that we do two things at once. One, we want to talk about the game development side of stuff on a more casual level. We have some game jams. We're trying to have some more workshop stuff. We've got to cover what are the different elements for making games, the programming, the art, the sound, the animation, everything that goes into it. We also try to have fun with like playing games. We love playing games. We love talking about games, so we try to do that every week. If you don't want to show up, I'm not going to force you to show up. If you're ever interested in how we discuss games are made or like how we discuss why we like certain games, or if you just want to show up and play a game for an hour or so, just like have fun and buy. Show up to a meeting whenever, wherever. We have a mass meeting next Thursday and next Saturday. Otherwise, we're just chill.
Very good. Wolverine Soft Studio. If you've ever heard of Solar Car, did you know that Solar Car participants actually get course credit? They get college credit for being on the Solar Car team, Solar Car Club. Wolverine Soft Studio is Solar Car for games. You get course credit. You can get course credit if you want it for participating on a 20 to 30 person student-run game studio. You will get Steam game releases, itch.io game releases under your belt. You'll get a really good experience and feel for what it's like to be part of a big team. You think version control with 4 to 5 people is bad, you've seen nothing, okay? And you'll learn a lot, okay? So consider it. Google Wolverine Soft Studio and Wolverine Soft, you'll learn a lot. Yep.
We also go to game developer conferences sometimes. So you get like your name out there in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Video Game Music Club, another great option. Google them, right? Music is the closest. Music is the key to the player's soul, their heart. Okay, if your game lacks personality, it probably has musical issues. RE, okay, alternate reality initiative. If you like VR, AR, XR, all that good stuff, you should take EECS 440, but then also join ARI, okay? And you will do game jams. You will really get immersed in VR and AR development on campus, okay? Okay, so what is this course? Okay, our mission today is to help you try and get a feel for whether this course is going to be a good fit for you, okay? And also get you a bit hyped up for it. We'll be talking and going through the syllabus at our next lecture on Monday, okay? So today we'll just have a little bit of fun. We'll talk about the course. This is the Canvas site for the course, okay? The most important thing here by a mile is the schedule, okay? The schedule is a great place to just hang out and look. If you're ever wondering, what is the course about? What should I be doing right now? Okay, am I missing anything? What's coming up? This schedule, you read it vertically, okay? As we go down the schedule, time advances to the point where at the very end, you got the finished flag and you graduate, okay? If you look at the leftmost column, right, here's how you read it. You move your eyes down the leftmost column and you find eventually today's date, okay? We'll highlight it in red for you automatically. I've got a little bot that does that. You move your eyes to the right, okay? If we've reached that discussion or that lecture, you'll find this little hyperlink. At this point, you can actually get to all the stuff we show off in lecture, all the slides, all the announcements, anything that you need, you're going to find here probably. Downloadable stuff, maybe. You can find in these two columns here, these reading columns, some supplemental material that might be of interest that particular week, okay? Not the most critical thing in the world, but, you might enjoy it. These last two columns are your assignments, okay? In contrast to 494 or 440 or any of my other courses, we don't double you up on assignments in this course. Isn't that amazing? It's unbelievable. I bet that makes the course way easier. Right? It would have to, right? No. The good news here, okay, if you move your eyes to the right and you see a green box, that means something is launching that day. What time does something launch? It launches at the start of class. So this semester, that's 4:30 p.m., okay? If you move your eyes to the right, we get to Friday and you move your eyes to the right and you see a yellow box, that means something is in progress. That means you want to know what you should be working on. You just move your eyes up and, I should be working on game engine exploration, the first assignment, on Friday. Okay? On Monday, you move your eyes to the right and you see a red box. What does that mean? That means that assignment is due on that day. It's due exactly at the start of class. Okay? 4:30 is actually late. You gotta get it there 4:29 for it not to be late. Canvas timestamp is going to be the judge of that. Okay? Also, on Monday, we'll be launching the second assignment, Game Engine Exploration 2, okay? These first 2 weeks, I'll be honest with you, not too bad, okay? And, nothing is bad, but this is a kind of a light, is it light? Okay, it's not as hard as some of the other assignments will be, okay? These first 2 weeks are about getting you a little bit of experience with modern game engines, okay? I'll talk about the assignment in just a moment, but things will start heating up and feeling very kind of 281 plus, beginning in week 3, and then all the way to the exam out here, okay, in late March, early April. Once the exam is finished, the course actually gets very smooth again, okay? The final 2 weeks of the course, you get to choose what kind of feature you're going to add to your engine, a custom research feature, and you can choose a really demanding and scary feature, 3D graphics, or you can go a little bit more tame. I'm going to get the DDR dance pad working in my engine. why not? Okay, you will be able to do either and get full credit if you do a good job with both. Okay. Anyway, so this is how you read the schedule. A couple other things. We got a lot of office hours in this course for you. Okay. Mondays and Wednesdays are my office hours from 6 to 7, right after the class ends. Okay, right after lecture in here. But you can also get 7 to 8 in here because I hold EECS 440 office hours from 7 to 8 in here. So 7 to 8 o'clock, if there's no 440 students, you get additional time, additional office hours. Pretty cool. No one is doing assignments on Tuesday. I wish it weren't true, but no one works on anything on Tuesday. Wednesday, we got more office hours. Thursdays, we got an hour. Okay, Junwin. Friday, right? Junwin and Jacob are doing discussion section. They have told me they will answer your questions as well and help you out during that section. Okay, it really is up to you, team. You are the masters of discussion. On Friday, right after discussion, Jacob has office hours. Junwin has Saturday office hours, and then Jacob has Sunday office hours. Okay, those are going to be pretty crazy, I think. Very, very busy. So thank you for volunteering for that, Jacob. Okay. Any questions about any of this so far? Okay. No. All right. So up here, you can get lecture recordings. You can watch live on Twitch. You can also watch the archives on YouTube. You can watch the discussion section archives on this link via the Kane system if you want. It's going to be tempting to watch at first from home via Twitch in real time. Then eventually, you'll feel like, it's okay, and you'll start watching like a day late via the YouTube recording. And then eventually you'll decide that you don't want to watch any recordings at all. You got this, no worries, right? And the difficulty level of the course will go up exponentially as you slip into that lazy pattern, okay? It's happened to me. Don't let it happen to you, okay? Come to lecture if you can. Sit up close if you can. That'll keep you awake. And we'll be all good. A quick note, this is not like 494 or 440. We have 90-minute lectures here, not 2 hours, so we do not take the 5 minutes in the middle anymore. We're going all the way through. Okay? All right. So that's some logistics. The Piazza site is really good for questions. If the autograder explodes, you can hit me up on Piazza or on the Discord as well, or just email me. The Discord is a good place for... There's not a whole lot of exhibition in this. Actually, there is. The Discord is where you'll post some of your work as you do the assignments. The assignments sometimes require you to, for instance, post a video of the game you made in these first couple weeks, okay? Discord is for memes and posting cool GIFs and video of your assignments. Piazza is where the questions go, okay? Yes?
What, I'm assuming if we ever run into the fatal pink pixelator, we just send that to Piazza, or do we also...
Yeah, you should, if you're running into off by one pixel errors, which is the scourge of this course, I think most of those have been cleaned up, but they're really hard to eliminate entirely. And I'll talk more about that as we get to the assignments that are afflicted by it. But yes, that's where you would post it. Okay. What else we got? We got the autograder dashboard right here. Okay, if you look, our OSX autograder has been grading Oliver Party's assignment since about a year ago. And the last ping from most of these, this is the number of seconds since the autograder was known to be alive. So the autograders survived about a month after the course ended, so I think they're fairly stable now. But I think a power outage or something or a surge killed them, and I haven't been up to fix them and turn them back on yet. So I'll turn them on when we start the autograded assignments in a couple weeks, okay? They're nice autograders. They tell you, they give you a lot of information, like a lot. Especially on the later assignments, they actually show you video footage of your engine playing through a game versus my engine, which is assumed to be correct, playing through the same game. And it will help you understand what features and functionality in your engine got messed up. So you know exactly kind of where to go and debug and do your testing. It speeds you up a lot, okay? Okay. What else we got here? I think that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and continue. let's talk a little bit about what this course is, okay? And then at the end, we'll do some quick announcements. So, what is this course? You might have a developing sense of what it is, but we're going to talk about it now and then a bit more on Monday. We'll go through the syllabus a bit more, at a fine grain. But game engine architecture is a game engines course, okay? You are going to be getting a little bit more knowledge with a lot of the existing engines that are out there, okay? A lot of you have good knowledge of Unity or Unreal or Godot or GameMaker. You've got knowledge of like one engine that you use a lot. But this course is about understanding game engines as a common popular topic, okay? You will learn many things about a bunch of different engines in this course. And as a result, you will not just be a Unity developer anymore, okay? You will be able to make games in any engine, okay, without breaking too much of a sweat. This is what a typical game engine editor looks like, okay? This is the famous UI of Unity, okay? Basically the big engine on campus that most of us use for other courses. And you can see some things here that make a lot of sense for a tool that helps you build a virtual world. It's got this beautiful viewport that you can fly around in and move stuff around in. But the viewport can get full of objects, thousands, millions of objects, so we need a list view that allows you to search for an object by name. When you click on something, it's typically highlighted, and there's almost always an inspector or a details pane, or whatever you want to call it, that lets you look into the guts of the object, okay? Usually toward the bottom, there's an area where you see all the assets that comprise your game. So images, textures, scripts, music, all that good stuff, all right? By the way, you don't have to memorize anything I'm saying up here. The assignments you're going to do this week and next week will walk you through a lot of this stuff fairly gently, okay? Right, the assets, the what, the where, and the how, right? If you look at Unreal Engine, right, this is a different engine, just so you know, than what we were looking at, okay? This is Unity, this is Unreal. But you would be forgiven for thinking, wait, is that just a different screen in Unity or a different setup or something? No, this is Unreal. You can tell because the lighting is way better by default. But it's got the same thing, a beautiful viewport. You click on something, the highlight. They're both orange, too. What's up with that? Okay. You've got the little outliner view. You've got the place where you can look things up by name and find things. And you've got on bottom, you've got your project pane, where all the goodies are, okay? It's the same, okay? It's basically the same. This is Godot, okay? And we're really starting to see some patterns now, aren't we? Right? This is, you know what this is? You're like, ugh. It's a bit spooky. You know what this one is? Oh, it's Lens Studio. Okay, it's Lens Studio. I thought this was Facebook Spark, which you've probably never heard of. This is Facebook Spark, okay? Every company has their own engine these days, it feels like. Now, they don't always call it a game engine. You should see Apple's engine. I'm going to make fun of that thing in a few weeks, okay? But engines have a lot of similarities. They have a lot of core competencies that they all have to have, all right? All game engines are trying to help you do kind of the same thing, and because they all have the same function, they will, over time, get the same form, okay? So why do we care about game engines, okay? Why do we care, all right? Well, game engines are a really big deal these days, like a scary big deal, actually. So has anyone seen The Mandalorian? So this film, this TV show, was pretty big in technical circles because it used Unreal Engine for its filming. Okay, let's take a look.
While filming this scene from Disney's The Mandalorian, the actors could see their surroundings.
Hold on. I want to zoom in and so you can see it better. Oh, what? Why can't I zoom in?
While filming this scene from Disney's The Mandalorian, the actors could see their surroundings, but the surroundings weren't actually there. All of this is just LED screens displaying backgrounds pre-made in a video game engine. Compare that with this fight scene from Avengers Endgame, where actors jumped around in a sea of green, imagining how VFX artists would make this planet look once filming had ended. The Mandalorian is one of the first major productions to choose LED walls over green screens, and the benefits for actors are just the tip of the iceberg. LED walls make the lighting better, filming smoother, and in certain cases cost a lot less than using green screens. But to understand why the team behind The Mandalorian chose these LED screens, we have to understand just how they work.
The answer is the interactivity, right? You can go in real time and fix things with the lighting, move objects around, reshoot right there with the actor right there.
Investment worth it. Along with saving time and money, the team developed a system that allowed artists to make changes and control the world on the day of shooting. Settings like exposure, color, animation playback, and still lighting are available to the filmmakers at a moment's notice. If they want to move a mountain from one side of the virtual set to the other, they can, right there on set. Not only is it helpful for the actor, who no longer has to imagine where that mountain is, but it's a game changer for the director of photography.
It improves your iterative development process, which is really important stuff. Right? Game engines are a big deal for many different fields these days, okay? As our favorite big companies, Epic Games and Unity, saturated the game development market, they said we have to keep growing, yes. And so what else can we do and have impact with? How about architecture? How about film, okay? How about automobile manufacturing and simulation? Basically everything you see on the starter page of the Unreal launcher, okay, they have a bunch of different cool technologies to help you do those things. It's really great stuff. Arcade machines, right? How many of you have been to Pinball Pete's? Okay, arcade machines were kind of the genesis of the GPU. You know that? So, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, we want our game graphics to get really, really, really beautiful. How do we do this? We need to be able to render a lot of interesting visual effects very quickly. These chips are very expensive. We can't put them in the home consoles, but we can put them in the much more expensive and lucrative arcade machines, okay? And so GPUs kind of got their start in those machines. Game controllers, you might have noticed, are finding their way into a lot of strange places, okay? It's a little bit, I don't know how to feel when I see an army soldier with an Xbox controller doing things that are, a little bit spooky. But game controllers, you find them everywhere because they've become excellent HCI devices, okay? Excellent ways to interface a human with a piece of software, okay? Games are the origin of many important technologies, and thus we have game engines, okay? These days, Unity and Unreal dominate, all right? They are the duopoly that, puts us all at a bit of a risk. Okay, Unity is the engine of EECS 494, and Unreal is the engine of EECS 440. Okay, and this semester, you aren't going to be dealing with them too much. Only in these first 2 weeks, you might use one of these engines. You actually get to choose. I'll talk about your homework in just a bit. But we are going to study modern game engines that exist today for 2 weeks. Okay, that's it. All right. Then we're going to move on because this is at its heart an intensive programming course. Okay. You're going to become much better at C++, much more confident in C++. I think you're going to like the language a lot more by the end of it. And hopefully that'll be the case because we're going to build our own game engine. All right. We're going to start and do this in kind of a smooth, progressive fashion. Your first auto-graded homework assignment is actually going to look like it could have come from 281, okay? It is going to be a hard-coded text adventure game. Not an engine, a game. Do you remember how Unreal Engine got started?
They made a game, and then he's like, what if I just reuse the code?
Yes, most engines begin with a game. You take a game, you remove the really specific parts, you generalize the technology. Now you don't have a game, you have maybe a moddable game, okay? Or maybe you have an engine. So the second assignment that's auto-graded, you'll actually make a text adventure engine, okay? Or basically a moddable version of your text adventure game, okay? People will be able to add as many characters as they want, In this text adventure, the B's are walls. It stands for block. It's a blocking cell. You can't move into it. The S's are Spartans who have invaded the Duderstadt Center. This is the room we're standing in. You can walk around and find students, and they have unique dialogue, okay? Like the W is a student, the 4 is a 494 student. And I hope you enjoy playing it. Eventually, we make an expressive text engine. The next week, we say, we're going to keep the gameplay the same. It's cell-based, right? It's a text adventure. It's got dialogue. But now we're going to move it to an expressive 2D engine, right? Cartoony 2D graphics. We're going to introduce SDL, okay? And I think you're really going to enjoy that part. We'll then keep moving on. We'll say, you know what? We're going to make this real time, okay? No longer turn-based. We're going to make it real time. We're going to make it fast. We're going to make our worlds continuous. So no more cell or tile-based gameplay, okay? We're moving to something that's a better approximation of the real world, okay? We will then say, you know what? Up to this point, we can customize everything. The visuals, the music, the levels, the characters, all of it. The only thing we can't customize? The logic and rules and mechanics of the game. So we will have an entire assignment, homework assignment number 7. It's the best one in the entire course. I love it. And I think you will too. It's a big one, but you'll like it. This assignment, you'll take your engine, which is now 2D, and we will move all of the logic into the world of Lua. Okay? You'll write a game engine, a program, that is a C++ program at its core, fast and efficient, but on top of it is a hosted scripting language, Lua. So you'll have your first 2-language program when we do homework 7. Okay? Then we will move on. And I'll show it to you right here. Right. So it'll be very easy to just go crazy, okay, and customize things. You can change the rules of the game. You can change how things work. It's fun stuff. Okay. Want me to show you real quick? Okay. Let's see. I'm going to show you. What am I going to show you? Okay. I'm going to show you test case C0 from homework assignment number 7, and this is what the test case literally is. I kid you not. It's a folder called Resources, and when you look in it, this is an entire game, okay? This Resources folder is the game, right? You put it next to your engine executable. The engine has to look through that folder. It's kind of like the data folder if you've ever made a Unity executable, and from that, it makes the game run, okay? Images, scenes, fonts, component types, okay? If we go into component types, we can find a keyboard control.lua script. We go into it. You might not understand this Lua code, but basically we have a keyboard control component in the form of a Lua object. It has some variables that we can tweak, okay? It has logic. It has an onStart function, an onUpdate function. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Does it have an onDestroy? It doesn't have an onDestroy, but eventually you make one. It has functions like input.getKey, okay, that return a Boolean if someone's holding the left arrow key down, right? We run some logic. Let's go ahead and play the game, and you'll see that it's a shoot 'em up. Anyone play shoot 'em ups? Oh yeah. It's popular in Wolverine software now. This is actually a subgenre. It's called a cute 'em up. It uses like pastel colors, and it's very nice and friendly. And
Mission start.
Okay, this is Donna, the donut pilot. I had to make a game, so I commissioned an artist to help me out. She wanted to make a donut game, so she's fighting salty enemies with sweet donuts, and this is the game. It was made really quickly, and the engine can support it. We got parallax backgrounds. We got spawning of actors. We've got some basic physics in here. Eventually, you'll integrate Box 2D. The enemies are speeding up and all that good stuff, okay? I'll prove it to you. I got all the... You want to see the final C++ code that passes the entire course? There you go. Enjoy, okay? There you go. What I'm going to do, though, and this is why engines are super cool, we can change that game right there without changing any of the engine code. That's the whole point of an engine, right? So let's go into keyboard control right here. We see here that we've got the speed equals 3. Now, we could change this here, but that's not the best place to do it, okay? Because maybe we want to put keyboard control not just on Donna the Donut Pilot, but on something else. Maybe her sidekick or a special enemy you can control. We're going to talk about component architectures more in the future. If this confuses you, don't worry about it, okay? You don't need to know about this for like literally 8 more weeks, okay? We'll talk about it more in 8 weeks. It'll make a lot more sense. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my scenes. I only have one scene in this entire game. I'm going to go find my Donna object. Where is it? Here it is. I've got an actor. This is a game object if you're used to Unity. I've got an actor that is literally this chunk of JSON. That's the actor. And we got a name for that actor. The components that this actor has are in this object right here. The components object, it has a transform to store the X and Y position, a component called Donna that handles like health system and stuff, a sprite render, customized to render a certain sprite, an animation component, and the keyboard control component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know what, I want that speed in that keyboard control to not be whatever the default is, 3. How about 3,000? Yeah, no, that's not going to work. We're not going to see it. She's just going to warp off the screen. Let's do 30. Okay, let's try that. I don't think this is going to break. I haven't used this engine in a while. Let's go ahead and run the game. I'm not recompiling anything. I'm just running that executable.
Mission start.
Okay, I should have... I feel like I should have increased the donut launching speed. That'd be a cool cheat to do. Anyway, right? So you're going to have an engine that is that, but more. Because remember, you get to add on additional features to the end in the final 2 weeks. And you can, if you want, and a bunch of students did this, you can add your own editor if you want. Okay? You can integrate with an existing third-party one like Tiled, or you can go in and you can program your own editor, and it's some work, but it's really beneficial, okay? Anyway, a scriptable 2D engine, you're going to have it. And in our final 2 assignments, you're going to integrate Box 2D, the Angry Birds physics engine, a super fun assignment. The test cases were really fun in that assignment because they're basically platforming physics challenges. In this course, every test case you do is its own game. You're making the game engine that has to run the game properly. Okay, so once you get your engine working, you can then play my test cases and have fun. So I hope you do. It took a long time to make them. The final homework assignment, which did not exist last year, is going to be a data-oriented programming assignment in which you build a particle system into your engine that is super fast using a data-oriented approach, okay? And I hope you enjoy that. It's if you want to write lightning-fast code, like data-oriented approaches are designed for that. So you're going to get a feel for, you'll get a little taste of what that's like, okay? Okay, in the final 2 weeks, you'll do engine research, okay? You get to choose a custom feature that is different from everyone else's feature. It doesn't have to be, but it probably will be. And you'll get to add it. You'll get to take 2 weeks to add it, okay? There is no final exam in this course. There is one midterm in this course, okay? And everyone last semester said, Austin, that's the nicest exam I've ever taken. The average was an 89%. I was feeling really good about that exam. So the exam will not be that hard, probably. The assignments, and the reason I'm not going to make it that hard is because the assignments are kind of where a lot of the difficulty is, okay? But you'll do okay. You'll do just fine. The courses are going to be easier than it was last semester, probably. We fixed up a lot of the test cases. We added really good ones, and that help you find bugs. We also made the assignment specs a lot better. The autograder will point more issues out to you before you waste time on them. I think you're going to enjoy it. Final 2 weeks of the semester, you get to add a custom feature to your engine. And this could be, an additional guest or scripting language. We had one student say, Austin, I don't like Lua. Why do I have to use Lua? And so he passed all the auto-graded assignments. And in the final 2 weeks, he ripped out Lua and he put it in Python. That sounds like a lot of work, but it was really cool and he did it. Good job. Additional editor tools, okay? You can add additional tools for making new scripts, tools for visualizing and debugging game objects, or actors they're called. We had a bunch of students do a really cool one, which was export to web. So your engine, make it so your engine can make an HTML5 game. Okay, export to JavaScript. How do you do this? It's not as bad as you think, okay? But it does take some research and some experimentation, and that's what we want, okay? We had a couple students try performance improvements by introducing multi-threading. Your engine, at the very end of the day, will be a single-threaded engine. I think we would need a new course to really do a good job with multi-threading, and a whole another 4 months. But you could try that. Efficient data formats. We had some students move us away from all this JSON business. Okay, all this JSON is really human readable, which helps you debug. It helps you make a game. You can just make a game by editing the JSON. It's not super fun. It's not super bad either. You'll get better at it. But as it turns out, if you compress this into more binary formats, you can load it faster. It's a smaller payload, and that can improve your loading performance, which is really important stuff. We had a couple teams do networking and online multiplayer. So that's pretty big. We had some teams do the Xbox controller. I think someone did a Wiimote controller. We had a couple people try basic 3D rendering, and they had kind of varying levels of success. They did a really great job, both of them, but it's really hard. And you can propose a new idea, okay? Just think about what you might want to do at the end of this, and run it by me via office hours or whenever, okay? The final 2 weeks of this course are to address a problem where we all have made a really cool engine and put a lot of effort in, but they're all the same engine. How do you talk in an interview about, oh yeah, I made this great engine, and they're like, is that the same engine that my last candidate just told me about? Yeah. It's much faster. Its architecture is probably written a bit better. It's cleaner code, but yeah, it's the same. Exact same. So this is your chance to make it yours, okay? This is an upper-level CS course, so it has to be standardized very much. But this is where it starts to feel a little bit like that capstone magic, that 494 magic slipping into the course, okay? So there you go. And you can either do these final 2 weeks of the custom feature, or I have to give you a final exam, okay? And don't ask me to make a final exam, okay? Exams are really hard to make, and you can't reuse them. This is terrible, okay? It's awful.
Just do what the 4014 did and run it through ChatGPT.
Just run it through GBT?
Again, according to what the GSIA said in discussion.
Which one?
We made hack the exam in ChatGPT.
Who? Which course was this?
EECS 44.
EECS 44?
484.
Oh. Yeah. Hey, team, this is a good chance to talk about AI usage in the course. Okay. All right. So you should all know from the bat that we will discover whether you have all this knowledge or not, okay? Because we will have a no-notes, closed-book exam. You will walk in with a pencil, and I will hand you a piece of paper and the exam. And you'll have 4 hours to finish an exam that requires about 2.5. It's designed for about 2.5, okay? If you need an extension, right, you get a extension, disability extension. That is the time, right? 4 hours, 2.5 to 4. Just everyone gets that. We're just giving it to everyone. There's no curve in this course. There wasn't last semester. It wasn't necessary. Everyone did a great job. You're going to do a great job as well. No, if you get addicted to letting GPT write your code for you, this is where you get blown up bad, okay? Big time. But before that, you will get blown up because these AI assistants tend to struggle with understanding very large projects, okay, and the requirements they tend to have. Here is where you should seriously consider using GPT and AI assistants as an enhanced search engine. Okay, whereas before you would look up, okay, Lua. What is the API for Lua? What are my libraries for Lua? And you're in Google and you're looking through all these pages that just don't have good examples. They're nasty, they're bad. AI is dramatically better in many cases than just searching. Okay, so a great thing to do is, hey GPT, hey Gemini. What's that Anthropic one? There's some others. There's like 3 big AIs. Anyway, hey GPT. I'm trying to learn how to do X with Lua. Do you have a really good approach in Lua? Do you know of a good function in Lua that does this? Okay, can you give me some examples? That's really cool. I'm going to try and use it. Examples, please. It's really good at getting you that information quickly. Most of the time, it will give you good material. When it does lie to you, which it does like 20%, 10% of the time, the nice thing about programming basic examples is that you'll find out pretty much immediately. And you can point this out. In my experience, they usually correct it and get it right the second time. So this is to say, AI assistants in your course are not for helping you write the project. They're for helping you expedite your learning process. Okay? That is what you should do. Treat it like office hours with a pretty good IA that will sometimes make a mistake or tell you something that's not true.
It's like real office hours.
Yeah. It's like real lecture. And that, if you do it this way, you will complete and gain knowledge much faster. You will be fine for the exam because you will still understand. You'll have written the code yourself. And rock and roll. It's good stuff, okay? I would encourage you to experiment with using AI, even if you have sworn it off as immoral or nasty. You need to understand what it is, what it's good at, and what it's bad at. And I will tell you, anecdotally, the top engineers in the industry that I know are using it all the time, okay? Typically, they say it's about a 30 to 40% productivity boost, okay? Especially when you're learning new stuff and you want examples and you want to poke and prod at it. So, ignore the stuff at your own peril, but also overuse it at your own peril, okay? Be careful. Okay, we're not done yet. Let's go here. I think we are. Okay, here's the course breakdown. We got 15 weeks to get you hired by EA or Blizzard or whatever company's taking their place by the time we're done. We've got, it really is wild out there, okay? Exploration, all right? We've got 2 assignments, 2 weeks where we're just exploring modern engines that already exist. This is your first homework assignment, and here's what it looks like, okay? You're going to go up to this game engine exploration button. You click on it. You can also get to it through assignments tab. And you're going to read this assignment spec. It'll explain everything that's going on. It'll explain why we're doing this assignment and what you should look to learn from it. It will then do this. You will be choosing 3 engines this week, okay? 3 different engines. And each one belongs to a different category. We have our drag and drop engines. Okay, these are the beginner engines. Okay, actually, I'm going to rename it right now. Okay, has anyone used GameMaker? Has anyone used MIT Scratch, Construct, ClickTeam Fusion? That's the Five Nights at Freddy's engine. Though that thing is crusty, okay? That thing is super crusty. I can't believe the games that people have made on that crusty engine. You'll know if you try it, all right? These are beginner-level engines. They are meant to be super easy to use, right? They're meant often, in many cases, for children to use as they learn logic. There's no textual programming. You usually drag and drop some nodes to make basic things happen. Like, hey, move this character every frame. You drag a block in that moves the object, and boom, there you go. It's happening. And so I think you'll enjoy using these. We then have a minimalist engine category. You'll choose one from this category. This is mono game, okay? Has anyone heard of, there's a tiny game called Celeste, okay? That is the Celeste engine, okay? Streets of Rage 4, Stardew Valley, Axiom Verge, mono games on fire, and it's a C# based minimalist engine. So if you're coming from 494, Love 2D has a couple games. Move or Die is one of the better known ones. Pygame, okay, if you want to write a basic 2D game in Python, okay, maybe you'll download and use Pygame, okay? Love 2D, all this good stuff. Yeah, you can read about all the games I found that were used in it, and I recommend that if you've got a favorite game, try and choose that engine. Okay, you're going to really enjoy getting a feel for what your heroes had to go through to make that game you love. Okay, and then the final category you need an engine from is the scary one. This is the one where there's a lot of power. You got to be careful. This is the integrated engine. This is Unity. Okay, the engine of 494. Also Genshin Impact, Hollow Knight, Pokemon Go, Overcooked. Okay, Unreal Engine. You choose Unreal Engine on this assignment. Ooh. Woohoo. Ooh, yeah, be careful, okay? You've got so much power, and what we're asking you to do is so tiny. It's like you're trying to start a little bonfire, and you could choose the little flint box over here, or you can choose the gigantic nuclear bazooka. Okay, and that's Unreal Engine. You can do it, okay, and they did it. A couple students did it last semester, and it went okay, but it was pretty hairy. You can try Godot. This is a really interesting one for my 494 students. Unless you really want to learn about Unreal, I would heavily consider Godot. This is the open source version of Unity. You can take the same approach once you know a couple things. It's got a little bit of a different philosophy, but it's good stuff. Open source engine, really good stuff. And Pico 8, this is the weirdest choice. If you really want a weird choice, this is it. This is the game engine. It's in your browser, and it's kind of like a command console, okay? And this is how you make the game. The entire game is in this command console, okay? It does use Lua as a scripting language, and you've got a little pixel art editor in here. Install, load, run. A few people used it last semester, and they loved it, okay? Once they got going with it. Oh yeah, this is the Lua editor. So I can write things now. Function. Okay, cool. I think this is valid syntax, Lua syntax. It's been a while. You've got a pixel art editor, so you can create characters, a place to put those characters in the stage, a place to make music. What on earth? How do I play it?
It's spacebar.
Oh, spacebar. We have a Lua expert in here.
No, I just love Pico 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Pico 8. Okay, hold on. I think we have a winning engine right here. We're going to have a lot of Pico 8 this semester. I got a feeling. And then you've got, so this is how to build a musical track. I think this is how you lay those tracks out. Anyway, good luck. What else do we got going on here? Okay, yes, so once you've chosen one of these engines from each category, the question is, well, what do I need to do with them? Well, what you need to do is you need to finish the requirements in this report for each engine. Okay? What are you going to be doing? Look at that. You're going to be making our little shoot 'em up. Okay? And the things you'll have to have this week are extremely basic. You just need to display a character. Okay? You get to choose who the character is. You can draw them if you want. You have to get that character moving when the arrow keys are pressed. You have to have 3 enemies. You have to have enemy movement, so they just move to the left. Very simple, no AI logic. You have to have some sort of background image or actor, and you have to have a piece of music playing. That's it. This isn't much of a game yet, is it? But that's okay. It's going to look like this when you're done. Except not really, because guess what? You don't have to have animations. I just put that in because I was bored. So you don't have to have that. It's even simpler, okay? These characters, we don't take any damage if we touch these enemies. There's no collision detection yet this week. You don't do that this week unless you want to, okay? And that's it. If you're really feeling ambitious, there are lots of ideas that you can burn time on. okay, if you want to make it souped up. But what you do is you make it. You make footage demonstrating all three features. And in the first engine, the MIT Scratch, the GameMaker, the drag and drop engine, you put it here. Minimalist engine, you do the same thing with that engine, and you put it here. Integrated engine, you put it here. Some students last semester made all these things in each engine, but they changed the graphics for each. So we had like a RuneScape themed game. We had like a fishing game, the little fish avoiding sharks. Super cute. I think we had a U of M, like M-bus. Like you're trying to dodge the M-buses as they come at you. You get hit, you get free tuition. I haven't run that by legal. I don't know if that's true. Do not get hit and do not try this, okay? It's not a good idea. That was a joke. This is a joke from my undergrad. Okay. Anyway, you will answer these questions briefly, and then you're done, okay? Not a huge deal. If you choose an engine, you should go down here, and you should find the document for that engine. So for GameMaker, we wrote you a bunch of hints on what you should do, okay? And what kind of YouTube's videos you might want to consider, okay? And so we're helping you out here. And if you start with one, what's this for? If you start with one engine and you don't like it, switch to another, okay? If you want to use your own aesthetics, you can do that, okay? But I also give you things that you can use. For instance, here's an environmental background you can use, okay? If you want to. Do you want to use Donna, the character? Oh, here are the enemies, okay? You can use these if you want to. You can use Donna here, right? We got a bunch of sprites for her if you want to use them, okay? Yeah, that's what you're doing this week. Any questions on this homework? You are expected to go out and find beginner YouTube tutorials if you are getting caught up with an engine, okay? Use that hint document we have for your engine, but if you get stuck, go look on YouTube, okay? Ask a friend to help, okay? Don't let yourself get too stuck. Come to office hours. We've got them basically every day. Okay.
For assets, can we use copyrighted stuff?
Yes.
Like the okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can use whatever assets you find, okay? You can make your Shrek 7 game if you want to.
How do you record?
How do you what?
How do you record?
Oh, yes. Use something like OBS. Haha. Right? Which we are using to stream right now to twitch.tv. I think that this assignment spec tells you to set up OBS. I might have to add that. Yeah, you might need OBS to do the recording, okay? But you can use anything. You can use Fraps, you can use ShareX, you can use whatever you want. We just need the footage. Just make sure it captures audio, okay? Because we do need to hear the audio. That's one of the required features.
This is a genuine question. So the project is 2D. How in the world do you make that in Unreal?
2D games are in fact possible in Unreal.
Are they really?
In fact, Unreal has a technology dedicated to it. I think it's called Paper 2D. Okay? So, yep, here it is, Paper 2D. It's Unreal's kind of 2D game engine. Yeah. So there you go. Okay, go for it.
And as an extension, Octopath, if you're familiar with the game Octopath Traveler, that's 2.5D game.
Sure. Oh, yeah. So we had a couple students in Unreal make a 3D game. So long as the features are there, it's 2D gameplay, it's good, okay? You can do whatever you want. I don't really care. Okay, anyway, we have to get going. We got about 8 minutes left. I might go a little bit over, okay? So that's what you're doing the first 2 weeks. This week, you'll add a small set of features. Next week, you'll add a few more features to turn it into an actual game, okay? But it shouldn't be too hard in any case, okay? For about 9 to 10 weeks, we will spend developing your C++ code base from scratch in a Git repository, and you will be submitting to the auto grader to try and pass all those test cases, okay? We are going to auto-generate a GitLab repo for you soon, Okay, the auto graders will actually do this for me, and it'll email you when it's done. You can go clone stuff, make sure it's okay, get it cloned to your machine, and start working if you want. But this is going to be your development all the way from text adventure game to a custom scripting 2D game engine. Actually, even beyond this, a physics-oriented, data-oriented game engine. Okay? We'll have 1 week of exam prep, and then the exam. Okay, that's a midterm exam. We don't know where it's going to be, but we're pretty sure it's going to be on this date. Okay? So do not go on a vacation on this date. Okay? Friday, the 4th of April, and it's going to be from 5 to 9 p.m. Okay? So no fancy plans for that night. Okay? Shouldn't be too bad so long as you are putting in a good effort during the rest of the course. You then have 2 weeks for research, and that's the end of the course. Okay? That's it. So, yeah, I hope you'll enjoy it. This is an intensive programming course, so your engine will be multi-platform. It will run on Windows, Mac, and Linux, that means. Okay? This is really satisfying when you get it working, okay? How many of you have written C++ code that's portable like that and just works? Right? Pretty cool stuff. You will be learning a lot about Visual Studio. You'll be learning a lot about other stuff. You'll have 3 auto graders in this course, one for Windows, one for Linux, and one for Mac. You need to pass all test cases on all 3 if you want 100%. Not as bad as it sounds, okay? And you'll receive a lot of help to make sure your code is portable and working on all 3, okay? You're going to learn at least a little bit about Visual Studio, Xcode, and Make, and how they all work, and how to help them help you, okay? They are all similar in a few ways that will make it easier to learn them all, and you'll benefit from learning them all. At the very end, we'll talk a bit about CMake, which helps you basically not have to do that anymore. Yes?
What if you don't use any of those?
If you don't use any of those 3, how are you going to pass the test cases? So here's what happens. The auto grader, we'll talk about it later. The auto grader will clone your Git repo. If you push a commit message with a certain string in it, the auto grader will clone down your code, say, oh, this person wants a Windows grading of homework 8. It will then build your code from scratch by using the Visual Studio project you set up, or the Xcode project you set up, or the make file you provided. It will build it using that, and then it will run it if it can, and we'll see if it passes the test cases. If it fails to build because you didn't learn Visual Studio, then that's a bummer. It's going to be a big 0 for you. So this course does not have as much extra credit as 494 or 440. So you do want to try and do a good job. The good news, there is some good news here, okay? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the high performance, oh my gosh. Okay, the auto grader is really friendly. There are infinite submissions in this course, okay? If you are late on an assignment, you get a 20% penalty, but that applies during the entire duration of the course. So until the auto grader shutoff date, which this semester is Monday, the 7th of April, you can submit for any assignment that you want, okay? We had a student last semester that decided to take 2 months off from the course, and that didn't go so well. The plan was to, hey, I'm going to, not do submissions for about 2 months, and I'm going to come back and knock it out, no big deal. Very, very, very bad decision, okay? Anyway, don't do that. Okay, assignments build atop each other in the style of the old EECS 381, okay? You don't have to get 100% on one assignment to do really well in the next assignment. But you do want to try and knock out most of each assignment because the next assignment will depend in part upon your ability to do that on the previous ones, okay? This is not the kind of course to fall behind in, okay? It's not the end of the story if you fall behind, but it will make things much harder and much more stressful, okay? Stay up to speed. Do the best you can. You don't need all the points to move on to the next assignment, okay? That'll make everything much more pleasant for you. Okay? Otherwise, it might be a painful time. All right. So, good news, the auto grader is very generous. There's lots of office hours in this course. And we'll be teaching you a lot of things about C++ that may be helpful. We teach you about smart pointers, object pools, placement new, compile time structures via generics, speed you up. We'll teach you about static, can make some things more convenient, a little bit dangerous though. Inline, preprocessor, compiler, linker, okay? Understanding how these three different things work will really make it easier to integrate other technologies into your code base. So look forward to that. You're going to get much better at using your IDEs. Visual Studio, Xcode, Make even. That'll be very nice. The course standard, you must set your project up to use C++ 17 in this course. Otherwise, you might have compilation issues. People sometimes ask for C++ 20. No. So, yeah, but the thing is they ask for it, but they never give me a really good reason why. So anyway, version control. You're going to get very good at Git in this course because you're not going to be able to submit to the autograder otherwise, okay? This will also prevent you from losing your code as the weeks go by, okay? Good stuff. You cannot submit to the autograder without it. You're going to learn Lua, okay, which is a really cool language. It receives a lot of use as an embedded language in a lot of different applications. Games industry loves Lua, but you can also find Lua in places like Wireshark. If you're writing a plugin in like GIMP or Blender, I think you might use Lua. I don't remember exactly, but some programs use Lua as like a plugin language. Anyway, it's good stuff, and learning all of this will help you get a job for sure. A lot of students from last semester went to Roblox, which makes a lot of sense. It's an engine company. And a lot of students ended up getting jobs, and they told me it was because they could talk about their game engine, a big C++ code base that they worked on for 4 months straight. That's a big deal. Not a lot of students have that, okay? Anyway, the expected workload in this first week or so isn't super heavy. First couple weeks, not super heavy. At its heaviest, if you're doing about 1.5 hours of work per night, you allocate that, you actually do it and do it well, you're going to be good, I think, okay? But if you let a few days go by or if you're not making good decisions, this could get nastier, okay? So you do want to be careful, okay? We had one student who did 494 and 498, same semester, rock and roll. They survived by the skin of their teeth, okay? And did a good job. Okay, or a pretty good job. So don't do that, okay? Don't do that. But if you do end up doing that, you might make it, okay? So this is an intensive programming course. It's also a pre-alpha course. We'll make it fast. Pre-alpha means that it's not feature complete yet, okay? It's not even to beta testing stage. It's not feature complete, okay? And I say that to basically say this course is still a new course. It's not completely finished. It's going to be much more finished and polished than last year, okay, when it was taught for the first time. And I think the evals were higher than 494 last year, okay? So the students, there was some friction, but I think everyone really enjoyed what they got out of it. This is going to be me, all right, as I try and fix the issues you run into. So please let me know about the issues, okay, as you run into them. Last semester was just brutal. Last year was brutal. I'm talking like at least 3 to 4, 5 a.m. nights every single week during that semester, fixing the autograder, fixing assignments, finishing the assignments, finishing the lectures. Woo. And yeah, it's going to be nicer this time. But it was worth it, right? It was definitely worth it. It was even nastier because I had to get up. I went to bed at 5:30 a.m. or so. I'd get up at 8 a.m. to go teach 494.
You were on the Discord for a very long time, I remember.
Yeah, students are, I'm working at 3 a.m. I'm going to leave a message for Professor Yarger to respond to tomorrow. And they immediately see the Austin is texting. Yeah, that didn't come without a cost, I'll tell you that, okay? Yeah. Okay, anyway, so why release it? Well, most of the course is finished, and certainly the most important parts of the course are finished, and I think in a pretty good shape, okay? I think you're going to really enjoy the assignments in this course. I think those are actually reasonably polished, except for those darn off by 1 pixel issues, but even those have been mitigated, I think. And we're going to use the data from these semesters to tune it even more over time. So the course will improve over time for sure. This semester, I think, is going to be a lot better than last year, and last year wasn't the end of the world either. The assignments are mostly finished. I'm just finishing up number 9, data-oriented programming, which I think is going to be a really fun one that you're really going to like. Homework 6 is like this. If you can get past homework 6, you're golden, okay? Homework 6, if there's any troublemaker in the entire course, it's going to be homework 6. So I'm watching that one like a hawk. Hopefully we can get that one going well. That's the one where it's continuous worlds. You write the physics collision engine, and there are lots of off by 1 pixel errors that can happen if, for instance, you accidentally use a double instead of a float. The auto grader will try and detect, hey, you're using a double, you should not use doubles. Those are outlawed in this course now. But yeah, we'll talk about it more as we get there, okay? The quizzes are all finished. They're not super hard, I don't think. The exam is finished. It's not super hard. The data says it's not super hard. The lectures are mostly finished. Some of them are too short. I guess this one's a bit too long. This will not be a 494 grade experience if you're used to that level of polish in your courses, but I think you're going to have a great time. There will be some extra friction. Some lectures might feel incomplete. Some assignments might have some ambiguities. When you're confused by something in an assignment, just message me or Piazza us. The questions you ask helps us understand how to fix the assignment, okay? By understanding what you're thinking about and how to get you thinking about the right thing faster. Difficulty curve might be a little bit odd, still polishing that up, adding more test cases. Interestingly, in this course, you add more test cases and it makes the course easier when you do that. Why? Because if you have the right set of test cases, it flushes out bugs quickly at an early point when the students can easily fix those things, okay? So it's a bit interesting, it's ironic. Ask me about course design sometime. What this course is not is a 3D graphics course, okay? We will talk about certain transformations and some math that powers some interesting operations. But this is a vast topic. We couldn't fit it in. And we now have a dedicated graphics course. Professor Park teaching at 498. Right? Very good, very good. Yep. So definitely consider taking that course as well. It'd be a good idea, from what I understand. And it might be a good fit to do this course and then learn about 3D graphics in that course and then bring it together, okay? Add 3D to your engine. Sounds incredible to me. This is not a physics course, okay? We will be integrating a physics engine, which is a ton of fun. Box2D is fantastic, super great to use. And it's not fully finished, okay? We will debut a new data-oriented homework toward the end of the course, the final auto-graded assignment for the exam. This is also not an easy course, okay? Just being honest with you. It's not as hard as 494. So 494 had lower, this is an easy course evals, noticeably lower than this course. And then this course was easier than 440 by a noticeable amount, okay? So it's kind of like 485 plus. That's kind of what it feels like. It's what the students were saying. And approaching 482's difficulty level, but not quite there. So anyway, 1.5 hours a day should do you really well. And if you skip a few days, then you feel the pain, okay? And we'll get you to a cool place. People really love their engine. A lot of people worked over the summer on their engine. I think you're going to like this course, okay? But if you're ever not liking the course, you let us know about that, okay? Especially in these early years, these early semesters, this is when the course is morphing and changing and trying to serve you better, okay? So please let us know about your challenges as you face them. Does anyone have any questions about any of this? Because I think that's, I just have a couple announcements to make, I think. What announcements do I have? Insomniac Games had a leak last year, so that's not really an announcement anymore. If you don't have access to the Canvas or the Piazza site, email me right away so we can get that to you so you can start working on your assignment, okay? You'll want to give the course syllabus a skim. We will go through it on Monday, but your first quiz, by the way, we have quizzes in class, okay? I didn't want to have them. I was, I have to have them. Unfortunate, but I do have to have them. Department policy. That quiz is going to be, that first quiz will happen about every 2 weeks. The first one's going to be on Wednesday, next Wednesday, from 4:40 to 5 p.m. It's going to be about the course's structure and syllabus. Okay? It's a gimme quiz for the most part. there are literally some questions that have like check boxes, and you have to check the right number of boxes and the correct boxes. And it's like it's got 4 boxes, and then the question itself tells you that the correct answer has 4 check marks. And I'm thinking to myself, should I even have these questions? Should I add more? It's a gimme quiz. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Get you some points. We dropped the worst quiz grade, so if you really mess one up, you'll get that one back. Only one, though. What else? What other announcements? Then we'll get you out of here. Office hours begins literally 8 minutes ago in this location. View office hour schedule. Be wary of homework, okay? Not super hard, but don't underestimate the time requirement in these first few weeks. You got to do some stuff. It's going to be a bit wild. You're going to learn 3 engines at a super basic intro level in 5 days. And then you've got about 7 days after that. You're just trying to get a taste of these engines, what they can do and how different they feel, okay? You're not trying to learn these engines all the way through, okay? Not super high pressure. Do the best you can. Come to office hours if you're struggling. And I wish you good luck, okay? I think it's going to be a great semester. And we will see you on at discussion, okay? Discussion on Friday at which room?
FXB, I don't know the...
Okay, FXB, look on Wolverine Access, you'll find it, okay? All right, see you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Sorry, 2 things. One, how do you want us to report our time to you, right, for the weekly in the class?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I just look at the numbers you report to the department usually, and I just say whether that's true or not.
I might need to look into how to do that.
Well, so long as you keep it under 10 weekly, they shouldn't yell at you. So, yeah.
And then what was the second thing? Oh, yeah. I forget. Were Nikhil's time estimates on your slides or on ours?
Take care, everyone online. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.